Okay, so you've probably seen the videos, right? They're all over the place. These bold claims about making an absolute fortune with AI-powered dropshipping, practically in your sleep. But is any of it real? Well, today we're going to break down one YouTuber's experiment to see if it's actually possible, and he did it on a budget of just $1.
I mean, the hype is just incredible. You see these testimonials, these screenshots, all promising thousands of dollars a month or $500 a day with almost no effort. It's sold as the perfect side hustle, kind of like having a money printing machine on your laptop.
And that's the big question, isn't it? Whenever something promises that much return for so little work, you've got to be a little skeptical. So we're going to dive into an experiment that was designed to cut through all that noise and find out what's really possible.
So YouTuber Mark Tilbury put these claims to the test, but he set himself 3 super strict rules. First, the total cost to create the shop had to be under $1. Second, everything had to be done on just one laptop. And here's the real kicker, he had to get the entire store built and ready to go in less than 60 minutes. The clock was definitely ticking.
So phase 1, building the actual online store. With less than an hour on the clock, every single second is going to count. This is where the AI is really supposed to shine.
The first tool he used is a free AI called Build Your Store. After signing up, it was time for the first big decision: what to sell. Instead of just picking a personal passion, he went with a huge market, sport and fitness. The AI then just served up some store banner options, and he picked a versatile one to make sure the store would appeal to as many people as possible.
Next up is the back end, the technical stuff. A free Shopify trial account gets created. And this is where it gets almost ridiculously simple. The AI app gets installed onto Shopify. He clicks one single button, Create My Custom Store, and then he just waits. The AI completely takes over and builds the entire website in the background. Pretty wild.
So the store exists now, but it's basically an empty shell. And the most important question for any store is, well, what are you going to sell? This is another place where AI promises to give you this massive, massive advantage.
For this, he used a second AI tool called AutoDS. Its entire job is to do the heavy lifting of product research. It finds items that are already trending and selling really well, and then it automates everything else, from setting prices to uploading photos. It even ships the products directly to the customer when an order comes in. And here we go. This is where the budget gets spent. A 30-day trial for the starter plan on AutoDS costs exactly 99 cents. With that one little purchase, the entire $1 setup budget is officially gone. So the pressure is really on for this to pay off. So what did the AI actually pick? Well, it's a pretty interesting mix, actually. It automatically filled the store with things like a high-altitude breathing trainer for athletes, clips to protect golf clubs, some classic resistance bands, and a warm hat for jogging in the cold. A really solid focus collection for that fitness niche.
Of course, you can have the best store in the world with the absolute best products, but if nobody knows it exists, you're not going to make a single sale. So it was time to come up with a marketing plan.
Now, the strategy wasn't to chase some huge celebrity. Instead, it was to use micro-influencers. These are creators with smaller but incredibly dedicated and engaged audiences. They're often seen as more authentic and more trustworthy within their little community. And there's a really good reason for this strategy. The data actually shows that micro-influencers can have up to 60% higher engagement rates and 20% higher conversion rates than their bigger macro counterparts. For a brand new store, that kind of focused engagement is basically pure gold. So a specific plan was put into action. An influencer duo called the Grace Brothers were paid $50 to promote just one product, that breathing trainer, in a 24-hour Instagram story that had a direct link to the store. It was a really targeted, low-risk marketing test. All right, so the store is built, the products are chosen, the ad is live. All that's left to do is wait 24 hours and see what happens. Did the AI, the products, and the influencers actually deliver? And the results were actually pretty impressive, at least on the surface. In just 24 hours, the store made 10 sales of the breathing trainer, which brought in a total revenue of $170.85. For a brand new store, that is a fantastic start. But, as we all know, revenue isn't profit. Now it's time for the reality check. When you actually break down the numbers, the story gets a little more nuanced. From that $170 in revenue, you have to subtract all the costs. So there's $39.50 for the actual products, the $50 influencer fee, and that $1 Shopify fee. Total costs came out to $90.50.
which leaves a final real-world profit of $80.35. Now look, that is certainly not life-changing money, but it's a real profit, and it was achieved in a single day from a store that was built in under an hour for just $1.
So what does this all mean? We started with these wild claims of thousands of dollars in passive income, and we ended with a profitable, but let's be honest, much more modest result. Let's look at that gap between the online hype and this experiment's reality.
While the hype promised $500 a day, the reality was about $80. The hype promised thousands per month, which, yeah, might be possible, but it would require a lot more work and scaling up. And maybe most importantly, the hype promised passive income. But this experiment required very active work in finding influencers and coming up with a marketing strategy.
So I think the crucial point here is this. The AI tools are incredibly powerful. They can build you a professional store and find winning products in a tiny fraction of the time it used to take. They automate all that tedious setup work, but they do not automate success. The strategy, the marketing, the business decisions, that all still requires a human touch.
And that kind of leaves us with one final question to think about. Is AI dropshipping really this new form of passive income? Or is it just a tool that dramatically lowers the barrier to entry for starting what is, and really always has been, a very active business? Thanks for tuning in.